All right. Good evening, everybody. Once again, welcome to the H2O podcast. I am thrilled that you all have been able to make it through. As usual, I love to start off with nice breath cycles so you can join me in the moment. This really helps us to disconnect from all of the stresses from the day and really tune in and be present in the moment. And so that's what I want to offer to you all. So let's go ahead and get a couple of breath supports in. We can do, let's just do 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. Okay. Give me that 2 more times. Okay, last time through. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. I love being able to be present in the moment. And I'll tell you what, if you are ever wondering, if you're ever feeling overwhelmed and you just need to be present, seriously, go back to the old school 5 second count, 10 second count, breathing in and breathing out. As I've reiterated in the last couple of weeks in the lives, how powerful just being able to take a breath is, how powerful a breath is in terms of cutting off the pain cycles that we often experience, which in many cases translates into the stress that we have. So thank you all for taking a moment to breathe in, breathe out with me. We are continuing our conversation on how do we heal through relationships. And I have been absolutely blessed by having two powerful young men on the platform to be able to share the conversation with me. I'm looking forward to the conversation. I hope you all are just as excited as I am to go through a series of questions to help up-level our dialogue and overall up-level the way that we heal as a community. So with that being said, I'm going to transition into setting intentions for this video and for this call so that whoever decides to listen, that you will be a benefactor of these intentions. And as I go through my intentions, I'm hoping that you all are also considering the intentions that you would like to set for this moment. So that being said, the first intention I'd like to set is sacred, deep, therapeutic order. Okay, and that's sacred, deep, therapeutic order. Just a small commentary on that. The importance of having order in our lives, there's no substitute. There's no substitute. When you are confronted with high levels and hypercomplexity, chaos, you need to be able to intentionalize some means of order. And we started off by taking breath supports. That's one way to start getting clarity on where order needs to be set. And so that's one of the intentions I want to set for this moment, as well as sacred unity. As we're talking about coming together, healing as a community, I want that intention to be set so that we approach how we heal with some level of sacredness. Restoration is another thing that I've sensed. It's so crazy because there's been a lot of conversation around restoration and many other aspects I won't go into right now, but that restoration, I'm going to shift it also into reward because there has been so much that's been taken out of our community, so much that has been robbed. I'm setting an intention for restoration within our spirit, as well as every other area, mentally, emotionally, financially, all areas. I am asking for restoration as well as reward, which compensates you beyond what you have perhaps worked for. Deep healing, I think that's pretty self-explanatory, and leveraging optimization. As one of us decides to optimize into our next stage of healing, it impacts the collective. So I want you to let that be a part of your intention. Gentlemen, I know I've probably rambled on and rambled on. Do you have any intentions to throw in the bucket?
I would say clarity, clarity.
Okay, and I don't know why, but it's a little challenging to hear you. And that may be on my end.
Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you much better now.
Okay. I was gonna say clarity. I would say clarity because clarity is just it brings so much. It can bring peace. Clarity, I think, brings peace. Understanding, I guess, is what that kind of falls into. And then I would also say confirmation.
Love it.
Confirmation is is the period at the end of the sentence. It's
Absolutely. CPC, clarity, peace, and confirmation. Love that intention.
Hmm,
Silver Fox, you got anything?
absolutely. Really, man, my dynamic focus this entire year has been just to be intentional.
Mm,
Uh, everything has a time and a place, but being present, right? Intentionally being present, intentional with my focus on motivating those around me and those that I can't verbally uh, reach or physically touch. Uh, but just being intentional, man. I like it. I like it. That's my grand focus this year.
awesome, awesome, awesome. And I have to add that you are doing a fantastic job on it, man. I love, even though, yes, we're kinfolk, I love seeing your videos circulate. It's such a motivation for me, as you've been a motivation of mine for some years. Seeing you stay on the grind with your fitness, it's always motivating and encouraging to see that.
Uh,
Um,
Thank you.
no, no problem. My honor, man. The decree I want to set is that we all receive, and just kind of goes within the same mixture. We're not asking for it. We're setting a decree and a parameter around knowledge, wisdom, and clarity, as our brothers already said, knowledge, wisdom, and clarity on how to move forward and make the most out of the moment. That's critically important. That's one thing I want to continue to drive home on my platform, is the importance of being present with it, whatever your it is, to be present with it. And then also incorporating skills and competencies, such as whether it's breathing, meditation, prayer, whatever it is, that's going to pour back into you a certain energy. Be present with it, and then use your skills to grow, to glow up, and to blow up. And I talk more about that within my classes. So I just wanted to reiterate that affirmations, possibilities of all kinds are available to you and I do mean any kind of possibility. Anything that you set your mind to, it can and it will be achieved. Okay, so I got that all out of the way. Excuse me for kind of dragging this out, but I think it's important that I set this out because I like yourself, Silver Fox, um, want to be more intentional about how I use my time and how I use my words and how I frame my experiences and the potential experiences that others will experience as well. And so, as we're moving out of the month of April, I do want to share this information with you. For those who don't know, I've been developing prophetic calendars for quite some time. And with this year, I wasn't able to publish the calendar in time to get the calendar out. But nonetheless, I am going to be sharing just some tidbits of that calendar moving forward. And so one of the things that I hope that you all have been able to experience in the month of April, as this was the word given to me for the month of April, nothing too long, just really quick, a divine arrangement and order is coming your way. Pay close attention to the signs and send up your prayers, your thoughts, your intentions. This is a month of clarity. And I can't speak for anybody else, but the month of April has been a full pregnant month of clarity and divine arrangements. So I'm hoping that within this last day of the month of April, that's been something you all have been able to experience as well. And that even if you haven't been paying attention to the signs, that you can look back and reflect over the month and be a bit more discerning, a bit more intentional with your reflections on what kinds of divine arrangements you've been able to see. because it will matter moving into this next month. The month of May, you can anticipate the following if you open yourself to it. This is a month to be creative. So for all of my creative people, open yourselves up for the creativity. Don't knock anything, let that co-creation or that creation just flow, that creative juice or flow, let it flow. Be free in how you think. There's always many sides to a thing. Remember, you can only be you. You cannot make yourself more or less than who you are, nor can you make anything happen before it's time. Let me just give a little bit more insight on that, the previous part. There's always many sides to one thing. This kind of goes back to what I just mentioned about taking moments to reflect. There may be things that emerge in your present time that you've overlooked. There's an adage that says, the thing that we're looking for is closest to us. So I'm going to deposit that into your repository of spiritual kits or whatnot. Think about the things that perhaps you've been looking for. You've been looking to perhaps move your business, create something. You've been really frustrated perhaps in a particular area where the thing that you really need is right in front of you. So take a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh look at it, because there's more to pull out of it than what you realize. Okay, remember, you can only be you. Show up as yourself. Live your truth. Be your truth. There's no need to follow someone else's path. We can have models. That's great. But it is important for you to keep in mind that the truest map that you can follow is found within your own soul map. So I just want to encourage you with that. And remember, you don't have to be anything that it's not time for you to be. There's no need for you to try to rush into trying to make yourself something that you're not. It may exist in you, right? Everything that you are meant to be has already existed in you before you came here. What circumstances allow us to do is to unfold it so that we can really see that, oh, this is who I was always meant to be. This is something I naturally gravitate towards, and this is just who I am. This is me. I'll just leave that just as that is and let you figure out the rest. If you have any questions, give me a holler and we can go further from there. Let's go ahead and jump into this interview. I'm going to open it with a particular quote that I think is important as we talk about healing as a community. And I want you guys to firstly, I want to read the quote, introduce yourself, and I'm going to come back to the quote. It says, criticize, but then do self-criticism. Criticism and self-criticism will allow for you to pull out of you things that divide you and pull into you the things that unites you. This is a quote by Professor James Smalls. I'll read that one more time, and then I'll let my guests introduce themselves, and I want them to respond to it. Criticize, but then do self-criticism. Criticism and self-criticism will allow for you to pull out of you the things that divide you and pull into you the things that unites you or us. Okay, so I'm going to ask that my veteran that you introduce yourself first, and then I'm going to go to our newbie on the platform. If you can start us off, Silver Foxx, what's your title, what do you do, and what's your name?
I'm really an influencer at the moment. I'm working on a podcast. We're in the beginning stages of putting that together. So please be on the lookout for it. I will not say the name yet because we're working out some legalities, the important things. But I go by the Silver Foxx, AKA Shannon Sims, Roderick's cousin. I'm an entrepreneur. And my greatest focus in life is to bring people closer together. And that's the most important thing to me, bringing people closer together, introducing them to therapy. Physical activity is a form of therapy. So that's one of the things that I'm really into right now. That's one of the things I'm showing most of right now. But this podcast is going to break open into this relationship genre a little bit more. So I'm looking forward to it. Man, that quote is fantastic. I need you to send that to me.
Oh yeah.
That,
Oh,
that's very, very powerful. Very powerful. Let me just say this. Man, every day, I kid you not, I am being, I am woke by the inner demons in me. Okay. And when I say demon, I'm not saying the bad things in me. It's that intertwined. My mind almost never shuts down until I go to sleep. But once I've rested enough, I'm wide awake, calculated, moving.
Mhm.
2:45 this morning, I was up.
Mhm.
I was up thinking of things. So the difference is where I am today, as it relates to that quote, is where I used to divide myself was with overindulging in stimulants that could be good and bad for me, right? An overabundance of stimulants rather than seeking to put together what my true purpose in this thing called
Mm,
life is. So my true purpose serves us all and not just me.
that's
Um,
good.
if I'm only seeking stimulation, then that is self-servient. So I have stepped away from overindulging in those kind of behaviors. Um, and there's a multitude of those, and we won't go down that tonight. We'll save that for another topic.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Much to be said in the short time that I have with you. So we're gonna make the most out of it.
Yeah.
Okay, Brother Aaron, if you can introduce yourself by title. What do you do and what's your name?
By title, I am a musician. I am a
Aaron, I'm sorry, give me one moment. I don't know why I can't hear you as loud. Is there a volume or something you can turn up or maybe get closer to the microphone? Shannon, are you able to hear him okay, or Silver Fox?
Yeah. Yeah. He just stated he's a musician. I
Okay,
think he just needs to project more.
okay,
okay, can you hear me?
okay,
Yeah.
that's better. If you can hear him, then I'm gonna guess that everybody else can hear as well.
Okay.
I'm a musician. I am a mentor. Um, I, I do music. I sing. Um, um, by title, I am a educator. I teach high school. Um, I teach 10th grade leadership slash um, not physical therapy, political science, and um, really those are the two that I teach on the most. And my name is Aaron Taylor, and I'm from Houston,
Fantastic.
Texas.
Glad to have
Fantastic.
you.
Thank
Let
you.
me let me tell you, Cuzzo, you would absolutely love this dude's brain because firstly, musically,
Uh-huh.
he can pull up music that like stuff that we listen to. Now, he's a little bit younger, but he impressed me almost every day that we talk because he can recall stuff and like the layers behind the music. I'm like, how did you even know this? You're not supposed to be knowing this.
Wow.
And he's a fantastic artist. So I'm hoping that he'll get a chance to share where you can find his music. I told him that I would love to interview. I am going to, if he agrees to it, I'm going to interview him on my music platform so that
Yeah.
he can maybe talk more about his music aspect as well. But that's not why we're here at the moment. His background is in communication, and he's been dealing with podcasts and things like that for quite some time. So I want him to join in on the conversation because there's much he can contribute as well. But just putting that out there. So be looking for his stuff. He got quite a bit of material out there that I'm sure you would love to listen to.
Right on.
All right, gentlemen. Oh, Aaron, did you want to respond? Did you either let me read the quote again and see if you guys want to add anything to that? So criticize, but then do self-criticism. Criticism and self-criticism will allow for you to pull out of you the things that divide you and pull into you the things that unites you. And again, that quote is by Professor James Small. Any other response to that?
I would say that I think that it's interesting that they start with criticize first instead of and then self-criticize. So it kind of it gives you the permission to be human, and also to then also be a human being, and remember that you're a human. So that it levels out it humbles you, and it allows for you to truly like do the growth that we all have to do every single day. It is almost like it's like cheat code to how you grow.
That's good. Don't you be putting out no Twitter like that, no hashtag Twitters. What you call the cheat code? How you grow? I love that.
I do too.
Any other thoughts from you, Silver Foxx?
No, sir. I just need you to go and send that my way, Playboy.
No doubt. All right, let's let the other fun begin. So here's a rapid fire. All I need from you is one answer, and then you're going to explain your reasons why after the fact you give me your answer. Okay, first thing to come to mind, favorite Kool-Aid.
Go for it, Mr. Aaron.
Strawberry.
Ooh, it's been years since I've had the diabetes beverage, but I will say it's probably Hawaiian Punch.
Okay. What do you do with the cotton ball from your medicine bottles?
Put them on.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Put them on open wounds.
Okay.
Man, I get rid of them.
Okay. Favorite Kool-Aid to mix? Favorite flavors to mix? Kool-Aid flavors to mix.
Grape and watermelon.
Yeah, I'm a cherry and watermelon.
Guys, y'all gotta be family because that took the answer right out. Mine is cherry and watermelon. Okay. If you were a food, what would you be? And we'll come back to the why. If you were a food, what would you be?
Go ahead, Aaron.
Pasta. Or like noodles, the noodles.
Okay.
You know, man, as cliche as it is, I know everyone says some type of strong, jungle related animal. I'd be a salmon, straight up. That fish is a very strong fish, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Favorite childhood Saturday morning cartoon?
Teacher's Pet.
Teach Pet. I don't think I've heard of that one.
Huh. I'm gonna have to go with Rugrats.
Okay. Okay. I'll give you all a chance to expand why. Okay, favorite Kool-Aid. I've heard strawberry and then Hawaiian Punch.
Mm-hmm. You want to know why? Expounding on these.
Yep.
I'm gonna move us past a while on those. I want to hear why did you choose the food that you chose? So if you were a food, I heard noodles.
Noodles, yeah.
And then I heard salmon.
Yeah. Go ahead, Aaron.
I said noodles because for me, it's so filling. And even though it doesn't have the best nutritional value, it does make you feel good. So I feel like I would want to be a food that makes people feel good. It makes them feel full.
Like that. Come on,
Right on.
nutritional value over here.
With the
Yeah, man. Salmon is it is an amazing fish. It can swim in freshwater or ocean. Um, but it's a very migrant oriented fish, man, and that's kind of how I am. I mean, I adapt to any and all scenarios and situations, and I think that's a very, very important skill to develop.
Fantastic.
Adaptation.
I love that. I love that. You guys are coming from different parts of the cosmos, but you're still showing that unification. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's going to funnel us into a bit more of our conversation of healing through relationships. That was just for the fun stuff before we get into the deep. And I know, again, our time is coming short. But when you hear the following word or words, what's the first thing that come to mind as it relates to the Black American community? Okay, the first one is circle.
I think of just the cycles and just the different things that haven't changed, um, as well as maybe unity. Obviously, a circle, everybody's connected, and it continues to generate, and it can also continues to pass energy and light. So if we're all holding hands, and there's someone in that circle that has a word. It reaches everyone. It's like telephone, so it could be a positive. It could be a positive, but then I also think
Excuse me.
some of the cycles of like households, broken homes, single parent households, jail, I think prison, you know, and just how it just kind of keeps happening. It's just so
Mhm. Nice, nice, nice. What about you, Silver Fox? You want me to read the question?
No, not at all, man. I think when I think of the circle, I think we're in a rebuilding phase, um, or remodeling, if you will, right? So I'm good with the old uh, guts of our community, of what we came from. When you talk about Black community, we're not talking about the ignorant extremes. Very.
Sure.
So when we talk about uh, that remodeling, it's doing the things, bringing back full circle the things that got us to a successful, unified place, which was acknowledging the presence of each and everyone that looks like us. And that's
Mm.
something that I do on a daily. If I see you, I acknowledge you. I smile at you. I greet you. I welcome you. I let you know that there is no animosity. There is no ill will. There's none of that because it has to start with us. We can't keep looking across the water. Can't keep looking across the room for someone else to fix our home.
That's good.
Uh, yeah, we've got to do it ourselves, and it starts with treating each other with respect. So I give it on the front end. You don't have to do anything to receive respect from me. You don't owe me anything for that.
That's powerful. Very powerful, both of you. When you hear the word Sankofa, what comes to mind as it relates to the African American or Black community?
I would say, if I'm not mistaken, that's a bird.
Mm.
Bird, right? My dad
Yes.
my dad had a he used he I had one of the necklaces when I was younger. And I remember him telling me about it. Um, and I lost it when I moved, and I was
Mm.
very
Uh,
upset because I loved it. But he always would talk a lot about Africa, and just the different things that took place in the history and the connection. Even though I didn't really have one, he knew a lot of knowledge about Africa, so I felt connected to Africa because of my dad, because
Mm.
he's very knowledgeable. And um, I know that the Sankofa is like a woman bird, I want to say, or it shows a bird kind of feeding. Um, and at least from the necklace that I had, you couldn't necessarily see the where the food was going, but it just made me
Mhm.
think of birth and how and how I just think of the one that I had like it looked like a woman, and it reminded me of I specifically think of Black women and how they birth black they birth the Black person. We
Mhm.
are from a female, so I just think about the remembrance of how a woman's birth, a Black woman is so disrespected. To me, that's where I go, and how they're the most disrespected or the most like the least looked after and sought after, but how they give so much to to who we are because
Mhm.
they are the carriers of the Black people.
Powerful, very powerful. That's pretty cool to know about your dad giving you that emblem as a child. I think that's definitely powerful. Silver Fox, what's your thoughts about the Sankofa bird?
It's interesting. I've never heard that word used, so I'm kind of learning from you two. I would definitely be doing some research.
Let
Um,
let me
but
give you a quick descriptive of it, and let me share with you. I've only recently learned about it in the last maybe year and a half,
okay,
more or less. But the Sankofa bird, it's in certain, depending on what graphs you look at, it can look like a phoenix bird or it looks like a duck that's its feet are facing forward, but its neck is turned behind it. And so, just to give you a little bit more around it, it represents facing forward while also looking behind the past. So, the feet facing forward represents facing the future,
yeah.
and the neck turning behind represents reflecting on the past. How does that resonate with you in terms of our community? And what's your commentary about that?
Ooh, and, as mentioned earlier before, I think we're in a rebuilding phase. Um, but I really really want to see us as a community um, refocus more on um, having open conversations about not just what we should be doing, but putting together groups so that we can do these things that we quote unquote should be doing. And
Sure.
I think we're actively displaying that amongst us right now. We're having these taboo conversations for the public. Yeah. So we're living in vulnerability, and guess what? There's power in that, and we've kind of archaically discussed some of those features in the past, but I really, really want to see that on a much broader scale. Um, our communities coming together and building each other up, not just verbally, but willing to put some financial skin in the
That's good.
game.
No
You know,
doubt.
if the three of us live on a block, there's no reason why any one of us should be hungry, cold, hot, unnecessarily, unnecessarily overweight, unnecessarily underweight. We should all be coming together. I should have great music from both of you as artists, uh, right? Whatever our gifts are, we should be sharing in abundance within reason, um, to build our communities, because that's what it's going to take, and it's going to have to be that way indefinitely, because inflation is not going to change.
Mhm.
Well, actually, that's not true. Inflation will continue to present at different rates, right? It's gonna go up here a little bit, or where it may go up here a lot more. And the more we keep trying to differentiate and separate ourselves from the pack, the further and further behind we become.
No doubt. No doubt. Let me say something to that because I think now I think I know how important what you said is, and I want to reiterate that the importance of understanding firstly that it's possible. And let me be honest about something in my own thoughts. There's the infamous 40 acres and a mule, and kind of what is the state of the Black community in terms of being restored and all these kinds of things. And I had a thought where I was like, that just kind of seems archaic, out of date. And there was something my spirit just kind of strung right across and said, well, you don't understand. There is a restoration period coming for the community, all people for sure. But there's a certain kind of restoration that is emerging for our community. And the situation is not a matter of if, but when. And that being said, what you're speaking to is a shift in our attitudes from the individualistic mentality to the collective. And that's going to be very important, that there's certain principles that we have to learn within our own community before we go outward. And that goes for each community. There's not a problem with being very unitive. I've been very unitive conscious for quite some time. But what I had to get checked on in my own walk, in my own journey, was that how can you be unitive out there outside of your community, but you really have not put that focus into your own community as you have with others. And that was just a personal conviction that I had, that one of the reasons, as a result of that, one of the reasons that I create these platforms and this conversation on a continual, and my call is to do it, is because this is just one way to actualize that check in my spirit that, hey, this is what your contribution is going to start with, is bringing the conversation in so that we can build as a community, as you're mentioning, that this will translate into not just conversation, but actualizing practical steps on how we can make sure that you're taken care of, your kids are taken care of, this brother's taken care of. We got to push his stuff. That's why I don't care about pushing other people's stuff and making sure that they have places to grow. Let that be done, because I know that we have to stand united no matter what. And let me quickly mention this about that quote that I got. If you don't know who Professor James Small is, Professor James Small has been noted as a radical over the years. He was a part of the Muslim movement, the early movement with Malcolm X. He picked up where pretty much Malcolm X left off in those earlier years. And I've watched a lot of his material this last year or so. And to see his evolution as an individual, as an elder, he's about in his 80s now, but to see his evolution on wanting to unite the Black people, no matter if they're Muslim, Christian, whatever their stances are, his wisdom that's been shared, those little tidbits that I quoted, from that one quote, he has several of them. And what I found to be problematic, and you've mentioned this before, Silver Foxx, on a few different shows, is we tell people to be real, but then we strike them down for them sharing their truth. Or we find a way to judge them. We find a way to string hang them or to hang them on the news because they shared their truth. And what I found that we've had to be very careful, hold each other accountable. Let's criticize each other, but let's use the same energy that we use to criticize each other to then reflect that and criticize ourselves, so that then we can move together more fluently when we come together as a collective. But we can say, hey, I identify where I don't agree with you, and perhaps these are certain areas that you don't agree with me. Let's draw that out of ourselves so that we can more clearly understand, well, where do we unite? Because first of all, whether we like it or not, we're a people that no matter what, there's a certain climate and a certain culture that when they see us, whether you're light skinned, dark skinned, brown tone, there's a certain response that certain individuals are going to have. So if we're not united on anything else, we're united on that. We're united in a certain kind of a struggle. And no struggle is not all of who we are. But there is a very real culture that sees our skin color as a threat. And we have to be present with that, not stuck, but present with that information, because otherwise we don't move as effectively together and really address real issues that are problematic. And we must eliminate those issues related to racism, even among ourselves. So obviously I could go on and on and on that topic, but thank you for saying that, because I think that that's really important to be shared. Okay, let me, because I know that you only got about 4 minutes. I'm going to jump ahead and I want you to answer this for me, Silver Fox.
Hmm.
What areas do you see that your friend circle are you needing to heal as an individual that it will ultimately have an impact on us as a collective?
Repeat that again. Sorry.
Where do you or your friend circle, what are you observing in your own life, if you feel compelled to share?
Sure,
Where
sure.
are you seeing in your own life or in your friend circle as African Americans or Black Americans where there's healing that needs to take place as individuals, knowing that it will ultimately have an impact on us collectively?
Accountability.
Mm.
Yeah. We are, and I have a very diverse group of friends, just to be very clear. Before I say what I want to say this. I think if you spend entirely too much of your time with any one type of people, you are at risk to become radicalized.
Mhm.
It is what it is. But to speak directly to the question, the thing that I recognize is the lack of accountability. Whether I'm speaking to men or women or both, it does not matter. We become so telegraphed when telling our version of a truth, because it's not the truth. It's to get you on my side, Aaron. If you and I are at dinner and Rod is at dinner, and I'm telling you guys about a scenario or a situation that I've had with another brother or female, um, how likely am I to tell it how it actually went and not put my uh, not spin it so that you guys take my side? Um, that's removing me as being a part of my own self's problem. And when you consistently do that and you're around others who are accepting of you reducing yourself that way because they reduce themselves that way, you miss out on growth. And that circle continues to starve from growth as it relates to a lack of accountability. They may all be financially successful. They may all be well educated, but they are not doing well in the realm of being honest and true to who they are and what their flaws are, aka red flags are. What circle of people can you go to and have a red flag conversation? What circle of people can you have a I am toxic conversation? Because we're all toxic. We all have red flags. I am neither good nor bad. I am both. There's a time and a place to be good or bad. So I'm speaking, I'm addressing a lot of things, but we reach for extremes in how we depict scenarios. And most of us are somewhere in the middle, good and bad. Not good, not bad. We want to align ourselves with more of one side of that pendulum than others. And you're supposed to, it's circumstantial. However, in this situation, man, accountability is big. And anytime I've gotten myself into a huge uh, pile of mess, it's been because I chose to avoid looking at what my role in any situation that I have failed in greatly was.
Mhm. Mhm. Let me, that was, I love the way you answered it. It begs me to ask this quick question in the 30 seconds that I have left with you.
Yeah.
Code switching. When you hear the word code switching, because I know you have such a diverse group of people that you are among, how does that word code switching resonate with you? And are you aware when you do it or if you do it?
Uh, I absolutely, it's like being bilingual or trilingual,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
right? We're doing it right now as a collective,
Sure.
right? We're not really speaking in more, as some would say, urban dialogue or dialect. Um, I will say this though, as time moves forward, we're starting to see more and more people who don't look like us um, engage in our organic slang. Uh, and I'm okay with it. Sometimes I get offended just because they use the terminology not really understanding its origins. They say things not really understanding where it comes from or even really what it means.
Sure.
Um, but you can't worry about that, man. Sometimes that's water under the bridge.
Mhm.
But yeah, man, like I want to see us in a better place overall. And we've got to learn to work together. And the way you learn to do it is just by doing it. You just got to be hands on. So, as stated before, man, if I see you, I'm speaking to you. So be prepared. Uh, and if you see me, speak to me, even if you don't know me. Just a hey, how you doing? How you doing, brother? Those sort of things, man, they go a long way. Uh, the only, I will say this, I am very differentiated whenever, and I'm that way with black men. I am not that way with women.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not that way with women.
And when you say differentiated, can you give us a little bit more on what do you mean you're that way, you're not that way with
So
black
I don't.
men?
No. I'm that way with black men. Period. But I'm not that way with women, whether they are black, white, or any other race, because we live in a country where feminism. There's a radical side of feminism,
Sure.
okay, and there is a misunderstanding with being nice, being kind, being gentile, being a gentleman. It's all too easy to just greet a woman and her interpret it as you hitting on her or you want something from her. There's none of those things. And I don't have the time to set aside for every woman who is having that struggle to try and help them understand that I didn't mean anything by it and no, I'm not interested.
So because I want you to make it to your destination, I'm gonna index that and say what we are definitely going to come back to is having the conversations about value systems and human systems psychologically, because I think that that is critically important for the conversation to be had, not just among in our community, but in all communities and in all societies, because in our society, that's a very real situation. Uh, you being someone who's been working in the health industry for almost about 20 years, education is also another industry where there's a lot of women. And again, I always, before anybody watches and say, well, they ain't got no women on there to represent, I always invite
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
the female
yeah.
voice on a platform. And
No,
unfortunately,
you do absolutely, and I would love to further have a deep dive. I think this is something that can be addressed tactfully with
sure.
tape. Um, Let me just be very clear. I don't have any issues with women. I
Sure.
am not a hater or anything like that. It's just it's a protective mechanism.
Mhm.
I respect women. I love them, but I understand that they have been positioned where they're unsure too,
Mhm.
and it's hard for them to discern what our intentions are,
Sure. Sure.
depending on what their life's experiences have been,
No doubt.
and put them in some fight or flight situations that may be premature. So this is why these kind of conversations are invaluable, and I would love to have a few women to kind of give some insight on how they think and operate in that situation. Because before, like I was raised that you acknowledge and speak to everybody.
Mhm.
Uh, but as time went on, and that's sort of a Southern um, teaching.
Mhm.
But as time has gone forward, we've had a lot of cultural changes
Yeah.
in the work. And see, I'm gonna tell you real quick, guys, and I do have to go, but I'm gonna tell you all why it's so difficult for men and women to coexist professionally. It's because we're very, very young in our co-work existence. Men and women have only truly been working together professionally for about 30 something years.
Mm.
So this is why we still have a lot of these issues.
That's a
Um,
good point to make.
yeah, yeah, we're very young. We're very young. We're progressing. Things are moving in a positive direction, but we're going to have to reestablish what appropriate norms are. Excuse me, so that that inner circle can have restored fulfillment and
Uh,
proper.
you know, God dang it, you just put stuff out there, you just leave conversations to be had, and then you got to dip and go. You like the kinfolk that come over and eat and leave.
You know,
All right,
listen,
man.
man, I love you, Mr. Aaron Taylor. It's a pleasure to be on here with you,
Yeah.
brother. I do look forward to hearing your music. If you aren't, please look me up on Instagram. Uh, you can find me at the Silver Foxx with 2 X's at the official Love and Fitness. Um,
Yeah.
please look me up, man. We will connect. I absolutely got to hear your music. Gentlemen, I've been ultra busy, and I do got to run to this thing.
Oh,
I love you both. God bless you, and may He keep you, and may He grant every wish and dream you have in your family.
absolutely. And the same to you, man. Love you too, man. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
All right, later, fellas.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Aaron, thank you for allowing us to have that time to uh, honor his part of the conversation before he had to leave. So I really appreciate that. I am going to now turn to you. I don't know how much more time you have, but if you want to indulge some of the questions that I've developed, I would love, love, love to hear your feedback and hear how you hear how you respond and how you interpret the questions. Are you okay with that?
Yes. I have until 8. So yeah, I don't know if that's enough time.
Okay, yeah, for sure. You just let me know when you gotta dip out, and we'll leave it from there. This conversation, as I share with him, and he knows that, and anybody who's been on the platform for this topic in particular, this is an ongoing conversation that it's something that I intend to have monthly until the spirit leads me otherwise. But it is a ongoing conversation. So there's always going to be more to be shared, more to be said, and we'll just have to cut it and just come back to it if that's where the business is in the next conversation. But that being said, I want to go back and I want to hear some of well, you've already unpacked the signs, but let me come back to some of the questions and let me put my glasses on too, so I'm thinking I'm growing.
I was gonna
What?
say, I was having the conversation last night with a friend of mine about code switching, literally,
Very interesting.
for like 20.
Well, let's
For
just go there since we were already there.
yeah.
Share with me your thoughts about that.
So when your cousin brought it up and he said it's like being bilingual, I said it's like being trilingual
Mm,
because yeah, but at least here in Texas, in Houston, a lot of us know enough Spanish to get by to an extent.
sure.
So we can say like, okay, we know enough. We can listen to a conversation and we can pick up on what they're talking about, and then of
Mhm.
course we speak English. But we were making a joke about how we knew Pig Latin, so it was like so it's like being trilingual. So it was like we start speaking, we start talking about our dialects and how like like I remember I used to what's your dialect? What's your rule? How do you so with that being said, code switching, it's the way that you are able to navigate um culturally across the
Sure.
board. Now, why it could be a negative thing is when you think about how Black people feel like we have to accommodate our oppressors. So
Sure.
why do you need to make them feel comfortable? They need to accept us. They've continued to to separate us, to put us in a box, to stereotype us. So we don't need to make them. I don't. When you don't need to when they walk in, go instead of saying what's up or whatever you might say naturally, maybe going in. I don't know. Whatever you might feel comfortable to do when you see a person. Oh well, maybe I need to change your posture up, or maybe you need to not use slang words, or maybe you need to be more. I don't know. A lot of the things,
Articulate, use more diction,
yeah,
soften your tone.
right.
Don't stand too close. Yeah, don't be too loud. Yeah,
But it's still so complex because you have within our own communities again where they feel like what what is a black person? What is black? Is there such thing as too black? Is there such thing as not being black enough?
mhm,
But then we also are trying to also unify together against our oppressors. But sometimes we don't even truly love one another
no
enough.
doubt.
So it's like sometimes it's a double-edged sword where it's like you have so many heads to 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 saw off at once, and they're all coming
Sure.
at you at the same time. Which one is most important?
Mhm. No,
So
that. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go, go, go.
yeah, that was what I was going to say. The bilingual, the trilingual, and just how important it is that, in my opinion, you know how to. Um, I do think that it's more positive than negative.
Well, you both of you guys hit something very important. You hit it on the head in multiple ways, and that was how often. Well, how can I put this? What keeps coming to mind, I guess I just need to get it out now before I say anything else. It's Double Consciousness, the book Double Consciousness by is it Langston Hughes?
I'm almost positive that it is Langston Hughes
Okay.
because I know the
I
book.
haven't finished the book yet, but just reading the book and listening to what both of you said, especially what you talked about, the switching within the oppressors and making others feel comfortable, the survival of code switching. And I've heard it often used in a negative way, in which in some cases it is. And it goes back to something Silver Fox mentioned about accountability, that there is a certain kind of intuition that we have as Black people, and maybe with any race. I think it perhaps just in any race,
Mhm.
that when we come together, if you've ever been in a situation, you've gone to a university perhaps where Blacks were truly, truly the minority, not just at the school, but perhaps even in the town. I don't know about your experiences, but the community that I went to when I first got to the community, the athletic program was what brought in most of the Black students. So anytime I saw anybody Black on the campus, I was like, "What's up?" Hello, speaking to them, making sure that they saw me, because it was just that connection of just wanting to make sure, like, hey, we here together, we didn't have to have a conversation about it, but it was something that you wanted to, at least I desired to establish. And it seemed like that was a certain kind of unity, the telepathy that took place whenever you saw someone of your own race. Of course, in different cities, growing up in the Dallas Fort Worth area, there was some of that, but not so much of that, because in larger cities, there's different rules that you have to play, because certain people, my earlier days of growing up, the gang members were really huge. So you had to be careful on how you nodded and how you looked too long and all those kinds of things that brought in a whole different sector of communication and code switching, if you will. But all that to say, in the book, dealing with that double consciousness when it relates to being among your oppressors, it's a very real situation, and it has been a survival element and skill that has been important for us to use, um, I didn't really necessarily have an agenda with the question, but I wanted to get the conversation out because in platforms like this, when people are going to be watching and listening, and who knows, I don't know who will listen to this, but it's easy to shy away from that kind of a topic because you may be considerate of, oh, what non-Black friend is going to be listening to this, perhaps may take it the wrong way, or even what Black friend may take this the wrong way. But I didn't want to necessarily set my own agenda with it. I just want to hear feedback from you all and what's your thoughts about it. What do you know about that book, Double Consciousness, and how do you resonate with the tenor of the book, and the overall messaging of that book?
I haven't. I read at like a quick
Sure.
like summary of the book like 2 years ago.
Mhm.
But it was a friend of mine in college who told me about it. Well, a friend of mine from college. We had already graduated whenever he told me about it. Um, but he just mentioned it as a book that really speaks to. We have a lot of conversations about the Black community and just like how much we aid, how much we get in our own way, and how much we talk about competition within our
Mm,
we talk about it's like these again, like we said, there's so many parts of what it is to be Black, and there's so many things and so much work that's required for us to be, back to one. I think about the piece that you said when you said like you look for opportunities when you saw Black people and you got excited,
mhm.
uh, and you have that moment where it's like, okay,
Right.
you see me? Okay, it's good to be seen. I like,
Yeah.
that's what we do. We do that's something that's unifiably that's very unifiable when it comes to us. It's not something that you have to really think of. You know when you see a Black person, let something happen in a grocery store, at church, in school, in a public situation, you look to see how the Black people are going to respond, and we
Mhm,
usually are unified in the way that we respond. There's just
mhm.
something about us that is so unique, um, and it just makes it easy. In those moments, you think of the good, but then sometimes you think of the competition. You think
Sure.
about you think about how you think about the hostile environment, depending on how you were grown, how you were raised, and how it affects your behavior in school. You think
Mhm,
about how crime and how we always usually stereotyped, or we have committed, or we have done certain things that put us negatively in the eyes of society, and how you have a lot of us being groomed to or conditioned to believe that that's just who we are, and your
yeah.
environment is who you are. So if you've seen something negative, there's nothing that you can do to not be negative because that's all you know. So you
For
have
sure.
so many different parts and pieces of what we call being Black. So when we start talking about how to unify, and you bring up code switching, that's just such a small piece. But what I think of also is that I do it, and I feel like it's important that we do it as Black people because, again, survival, right?
Yeah.
We are trying to survive. But if it's done to me and the person isn't Black, which it wouldn't really make sense for another Black person to code switch with me
Mhm,
unless they just don't identify necessarily with a certain maybe topic of
mhm,
conversation.
mhm.
But when someone that is non-Black and they do it, to me, it's an issue. I don't know if that technically is fair or not, but I feel uncomfortable. Why are you talking to me the way you think I want to be talked to?
Well, so you're opening up a can of worms right there. You're opening up a can of worms.
I was so
And
yeah.
part of, so I don't know how many conversations back, it's been a few months. We didn't get a chance to talk about this on the platform, but it was looking at all of the various aspects within the Black community that we need to deal with within ourselves. And part of that was, we didn't get a chance to talk about it, but it was within the church, um, dealing with the LGBTQ community, the transgender community, how we go rally on the streets for justice, but then the injustices that have been practiced upon these community of people. And so that's a whole different level of code switching that that if we were to deal with that, there's a lot of conversations that could emerge out of that, and really a lot of deep healing. And that is a topic that I'm going to have to dedicate solely to just a conversation, because there's too much of that when we talk about the healing pathways and addressing a lot of the abuse, the dysfunctions, that whole gamut of conversation. That's something that has to be addressed. The gender aspect, he mentioned that, and that was a whole nother other piece that we didn't get a chance to really dedicate in the platform. When I designed the questions, there's so much that comes up. We could spend hours upon hours having the conversations, but I just make an index and say, okay, I'm going to go back and get some of these things and really put them up front. Yeah, you just bring up a lot there. You bring up a lot there. Um, let me ask you this in our short time. I'll end it with this, as I did with Silver Foxx. Within your friend group or within yourself, where do you see healing need to happen, deep healing need to happen, that impacts you first as an individual, but then also will ultimately have an impact on the collective community?
Um, I had to just pick truth.
Okay.
I would say truth because I think about how the word that came to mind first was identity. And we have an identity crisis. Um, and I think not all of us have an identity crisis, but we actually in reality do, because we don't all have the same end goal. So some of us live our lives knowing our past, or living off of our past, and allowing that to guide the way that we walk through life. Where we come from is where we still are. For someone that's
Mm,
still stuck on
sure.
where we once were.
Mm,
And then some of us are living in the present. So we are just some of us are just kind of like, this is what it is, it'll always be what it is. And we aren't there isn't much progress that could be made because of our history. But based off of where we are right now, they don't see the positivity. Maybe they are not surrounding themselves around people who are doing positive things, so they're stuck and they're still stagnant, kind of like where we are right here in 2022. And I think
mhm,
you have also the Black people who think about how progressive we want to be, but maybe they don't. These people that kind of like think about the future, or maybe the ones that code switch, the ones that rub elbows outside of our communities, they're
mhm,
thinking of the bigger picture. These people would be like the Black people who sit on the Supreme Court, like our first female Black Supreme Court justice
mhm,
representative. Maybe that's what that looks like. There's been so
mhm,
much controversy behind her because of the white man she's with. I don't know if I haven't really followed her story, but I don't know if she met him in college, or if her walk uh, within politics led her to him. But
mhm.
she's still a Black woman, and she's still making history as a Black woman. But there's just
Sure.
still been so much controversy behind just her being where she is. Is it because of the man she was with? I don't know. I don't know what kind of power he had, and again, I don't know much about. I haven't studied much about her. I just know that she is in a interracial relationship, but she also made Black history. Two of those things exist, but one of them, depending on the Black community you're in, one of those is negative.
For sure. For sure. I mean, there's so much to unpack, and there's so much within our community that needs to be discussed among ourselves. And again, the reason why I started with that quote is because I think it's fair to say that without being able to criticize and critique us,
And it gets uncomfortable sometimes.
it gets really uncomfortable. One of the things I appreciate about you, and I don't know if you're okay with me calling you by your moniker, Aero. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. One of the things I appreciate you is because I don't know if it's your artist name, your nickname, or whatnot, but Aero, I think it's really important that I point this out because when you speak, it's like an arrow, that you have a way of saying things that just get straight shot to the point. And if you don't know how to handle that kind of approach, then you can take an offense. But it's a criticism that's necessary in our community. And it's a critique, and it's a certain kind of critique. Uh, One of my peers in class, well, was a student of mine in the class that I was teaching online a few years ago, had made a statement about negativity and how negativity often gets a negative rap. But the thing about negativity is it's sharp, it's concise, and it's to the point. Think about each time when you may have been flustered, frustrated, something may not have been going in the right way. Besides the lash out, oftentimes we get straight to the point. This was off. It needs to change. That's it. You know, and sometimes we don't know how to really appreciate that kind of experience because of the way that it feels. And I'm not saying that we often go around and we are always shooting that kind of an arrow, pun intended. But it is important that we know how to navigate that kind of an energy because it does take us to another place in our healing and in our development. Ayana is another good one. I think that as controversy as she may be, and her show was, she was able to really deal with the heart of the matter in a very, very um, blunt, terse, to the point kind of a way that it got straight to the fat or straight to the bone of the marrow. And it cut deep, but it was that double-edged sword. One side of it was to cut, the other side was to heal. And I think that that's something that we got to have. So I don't know what exactly led me there, but you talked about truth being that thing that as an individual we need to do. And I won't, in these last 2 minutes, well, I won't take too much time, but I want to say within myself that that it's the homophobia within myself that I need to be able to address. I think that's really important for my individual healing as well as the collective healing. And like I said, we're going to have other platforms where I want to design something that we really deal with that because you can't avoid that kind of. So when you talk about healing to optimization, I don't think that we can really move forward and heal in a deep kind of a way without having that kind of a conversation. So I want to put some skin in the conversation as well, and I didn't want you guys to be left out there by yourselves and not have that conversation. And I do want to mention this, as I've talked about in my book, therapy is important. Even though I do spiritual modalities and I really push those things, and I work with a lot of different spiritual, well, a lot of the body of work that I do is very spiritual. I think it's just as spiritual to have a therapist, someone who is certified that you can work with in some capacity to help you navigate those conversations. And that was a conversation that I didn't necessarily think I needed a therapist to have, but I like the way that my therapist just, we did the listen therapy for a while and then he was able to point it out and really deal with it. And with some of my own childhood traumas, it was important for me to hear it just like that so that I could move into my next place of healing. And so, anyway, that's my skin in the game. It is right at 8. So, I want you to be able to have the final word of anything that you would like to say, share, where people can reach you and connect with you.
Yes, first and foremost, thank you for having me. I haven't been on a podcast platform in a while, longer than I would like to have to admit. But I've enjoyed the dialogue, the conversations, and I like everything because, like I said, this is my first time watching or being a part. We just talk usually at school, and I know a little bit about what's going on, and you'll tell me about the topics, and you'll share. But seeing like the intro and just the expectations and the declaration, all of those things made me progressively right, put me right where I wanted to be. And I do wanted to know if do you remember what I said my intentions were?
It was CPC. Um, I remember the P stands out, the peace,
Clarity.
clarity, peace, and what was the last C? It was
Clear.
clarity, peace. Oh, and
Oh,
confirmation.
confirmation.
Confirmation. Yes, sir. Thank you for bringing that back up.
Yes, those the clarity. Um, I got a better understanding of the symbol because I knew it was a bird,
Mm,
but I didn't realize that I didn't know I don't remember that my dad talking about necessarily that piece of it if he ever
wow.
really explained it. I just know he would say a lot of things, and I just remember that necklace because I was a kid when I had it.
Wow.
You know, when I moved, so I was 10 years old the last time I had it. I got clarity on the fact that the legs are frontward, and even though that the bird is dropping something, the other part of the message is that feet are forward, but you're looking back. You have to be able to
Yes.
where you've been, obviously, to see where you're going.
Yes.
So you need to understand what's behind you, but you have to make sure that the focus is getting forward. But you need to be aware. You cannot not be aware. So I like that clarity. And then the confirmation was the code switching because I had a conversation last night about code
Mm,
switching, and it came up, and your cousin literally said the exact same thing, confirming how we see code had nothing to do with the black, had nothing to do necessarily with the fact that it just came up. It was just it's just confirmation of
beautiful.
that moment. So literally, the expectations that I put out there is exactly what was meant. So thank you.
Excellent. And do you got peace?
I have peace. Oh yes, peace, peace to pass.
Excellent.
As
Well, it looks like all 3 points have been fulfilled, my good sir.
yes, yeah. Bravo, bravo to you.
Bravo to you guys. I mean, one of the things, and I say this last bit, one of the things I shared with Silver Foxx was that, designing the question, well, being able to decide who is the best individuals to have the conversation with is just as important in designing the questions, because believe it or not, it's its own cosmos, its own solar system in terms of the energies that come together to have the conversation. So you all bring another level of animation in the conversation. And when I consider all of the energies that come together, I have to channel that into the way I design those questions. So thank you all for helping to make it what it is. Helping to bring the intentions out to help make the conversation vivified and pop. You guys are beautiful, beautiful souls, man, and I mean that. And I hope that the experience that you have here on the H2O platform is nothing short than a beautiful experience.
Yes, it's everything. I did want to my Instagram.
Yes.
Instagram is at Aero. That's AERO, as in like Aeropostale. So AERO. Um, and that is Instagram. Is and my that is also I am on Facebook. Well, actually, Facebook. I'm there, but I'm not really there.
I understand.
But Instagram is definitely where I'm most active. Um, check out I'm gonna put it. I'm gonna speak it into existence.
Yes.
Music coming very soon. I,
Yes.
I do it when I want to do it, but I have not put it on any platform outside of like SoundCloud. I've shared it. So, but yes, but I do love music, and if you follow me on Instagram, you will see more music, more of my.
Dude, I don't know if I follow you on Instagram. So I'll make sure I'll go look you up tonight. Do I follow you?
No, I don't. I don't think I knew that you had an Instagram.
Okay, let me make sure I follow you. on both my pages. So once we're done, I'll look you up on both of those platforms. But please go follow this man. He is an incredible artist. As you can see, he has a beautiful soul, an incredible person. The music is nothing short than reflecting his spirit and his harmonies, his sounds, his arrangements. If you are somebody who is in need of someone to help arrange your music, in fact, I've already sent him an invite to be one of perhaps my first artists that I interview on my music platform. So please go look him up. There's a lot to unpack as an artist, and just go support. I'm gonna go ahead and end it, but please make sure in your bio you include all of your handles so that whenever I post it to YouTube, I'll be able to post your handles in there as well.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording now, but hold on. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for attending the H2O podcast. This is, I believe, episode 14, perhaps the fourth or the fifth conversation on healing through relationships. Like, subscribe, share, go back and watch it again. If you have any questions or anything that we talked about, include that in the comment section or send me an email. You can call me on my work phone, 832-512-4834. Again, that's 832-512-4834. You can reach me go to my website. It has all of my social platforms. H as in heaven, the number 2, O as in octave, the number O-1.com, H2O-1.com. The homepage has all of my social network icons. You can reach me at any one of those, and I'll be glad to connect with you. Have a fantastic night. Join the wave. Remember that possibilities of all kinds are available to you, and whatever you put your mind to, you can and you will achieve that. Love you, and bye-bye. You stay there. Let me end this.